Welcome to Coffee Charge Conversations. Today we are joined by Richard Faasen, one of my very good friends. Just a little bit of an introduction for Richard. We met in grade 8.
Yeah.
Opened the batting together. We loved our cricket, and I think from there I could already see just the type of person you are and your love for sport, and you just had an instant zest for life. We've decided with the podcast, since it went quite well with Guy last time, that we're going to have an ice bath before every podcast episode. Today was your first ice bath. Tell me about that. How was that for you, Ricky?
Well, firstly, just want to say thanks for having me. It really is an honor, Mike. Super proud of you, by the way. And the ice bath, to be honest with you, I was proper bricking it when you mentioned it to me, because I haven't done an ice bath since like first year varsity when we were doing football. So I was proper bricking it. But as you said, if you can get through the first 2 minutes, you're good to go. And then, I think the next 4 minutes was fine. We both managed to do 6 minutes, which I think was impressive from both of us. I think we could have gone longer, actually. But it was a proper cool experience and nice start to the day, to wake up nice and early, get going, have a bit of banter before. So I think it was really cool.
Oh, that's awesome. And I think you were also about 20 minutes longer than Guy from the last one. So that that's always good. I think what drew me to your energy instantly, even from grade 8, was just seeing how family orientated you were and how much you stuck to your values. And you always had a positive spin to things. Even when things weren't quite going your way, you had a quick turnaround time. And I'm interested to know, you always refer to enjoy the life.
Oh, yeah.
So what does enjoy the life mean?
I can't even remember where I got it from, but it was a couple of years ago it started, and it's kind of been my life motto. How I would probably describe it is, it's just genuinely creating memories and having the best possible time you can have with the people that you love. Because there's so much negativity, and you just go on Twitter, for example. With me, when I go on Twitter in the morning, you just see so much rubbish. And one thing you can control is your mindset. And that's kind of where Enjoy the Life came from. And it kind of just started as a bit of a fun thing that I would post as a caption on Instagram. And it's just evolved into, positive mindset, and having the best possible time with the people that you cherish most, and that you love the most. That's
I think, sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
I think with you, what I find quite fascinating is, for those who don't know you were, and I know that you're very humble, but in school, I think you got 7 distinctions at the end of matric, and you missed the 8th one by getting 79 for accounting.
For accounting, yeah.
And now you're doing accounting.
And now I'm doing accounting, exactly. It's ironic.
But you always had that discipline, and I saw that throughout school. And we went to varsity together, and you still have it now. But somehow, I don't know how you do it, but you found a way to balance that with a social life. You have, I don't know how you keep up with all your mates. You've got friends all over, but also you just make time to see the people that mean a lot to you.
Yeah.
How do you work out that work-life balance?
It's so difficult, but I think going back to school, our time at Crawford, obviously from when I was in primary school, I was always quite academically inclined, but also love my sport. As you know, like I've been obsessed with sport my entire life. And I think what worked well for me up until matric was I genuinely, even going into like final exams. I played first team sport like all the way through until the final week before matric finals. When guys would, you know, stop sport like a month or so before matric exams, you know, to focus on studies, I literally would make sure that I played every game, every tournament right until the very end. And that just gave me a nice little balance between academics and sport, and it kind of kept my mind fresh. Even in varsity, I played football in my first 3 years of varsity, had the best time at Tux, and it kind of just gave me a breakaway from having to be stuck. Because I mean, as you know, especially with accounting sciences as a degree, it's just brutal, especially in your honors year. So to have that sport to fall back on was just something that kept me really fresh and motivated, because as you know, I'm the type of person that can't be stuck in a room or sat down for too long. So for me, it was just really the sport coming through. And it's difficult to find time for everyone, like especially with work and stuff. Everyone's so busy, but I think I have my priorities. You know, I have my family, I have my girlfriend, I have like my really good mates like you, and sometimes you have to say no. Like, I think I was a yes man a lot, especially in coming out of varsity and early years of varsity. I was a yes man a lot. Like, do you want to go out? Yes. And now I've got to a point in my life where I've learned to say no. It's going to upset some people, of course, but you have to. You have to have priorities, and I think that's what's helped me a lot in the last couple of years.
And how did it sit with you when you were a yes man and people were saying, let's go out tonight, let's do this, let's do that, and it doesn't sit well with your gut, but you're doing it for other people? How did that play out for you?
I think it was actually a lot easier than I expected it. I was quite selfish with it, but I had my reasoning. I was just, for example, like obviously with me being with Chris now for 6 months, it was so easy for me to say no because I was so happy saying no, because I knew I would go back and it would be a chill night. I'd be with her or I'd be at home with my family. So it was so much easier than I expected it to be. Obviously, I think some people would have got rubbed up the wrong way, because from the beginning of January, from New Year's Day up until May when I met Chris, was literally just carnage. You know, the boys out every night having a jaw, which was cool. It was great. I enjoyed it a lot. But I think all of the boys in our friend group, and speaking for everyone really, when they do settle down and when they do meet someone, it is really, for me, it was really easy to say no.
Yeah.
Genuinely, like a lot easier than I expected it to be.
I mean, that resonates with me as well because...
With Michaela.
Yeah, definitely. I think I was very similar to you in that... So for me in school, I always felt like a little bit of an outsider, and I was quite quiet as well. So I always wanted to be part of a group. And once I found that group, I just wanted to cling on to it, you know. It's almost like that fear of being abandoned.
Yeah.
And I think since finding Michaela, it's really helped me with that. And I've been a lot firmer with people.
You were very good with that. You were very good with that, I must say.
Yeah, thanks.
I learned a lot from you with that, because you obviously had your relationship and then I had time going into mine. And yeah, it took a lot from how you handled it.
Thanks.
Because you definitely had the ability to say no, and you were stern with it. You know?
I think honestly what I'm struggling with a little bit now is I feel like I've gotten a little bit used to saying no. And
now it's the
opposite way. It's never a problem I've had before, and in a way it's quite nice to have that problem, because I've been standing up for myself a lot more, particularly this year. But yeah, I mean, I think it's tough to get that work-life balance.
Hugely tough.
Right. And out of all the people I know, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I think you've got it almost nailed.
I appreciate that. I don't think it's physically possible to get it perfectly nailed though. But you can certainly try. And I try my best. It's not always easy, as you know, but I think I have a decent idea of where the priorities lie. Yeah. And it comes with experience and growing up and getting older.
But I think, I mean, we both know, I'm not going to mention any names, but we both know people that do accounting that are just as hardworking as you are and that have struggled in that environment. And I'm sure, I mean, for me, my Zulu mark was higher than my accounting mark in matric. So for me, I really struggled with accounting, and I think you've done very, very well, because for me, there's been times where I've really needed a friend, and you're often the first person that I actually call.
Oh, bro, exactly the same for me.
No matter how busy
Appreciate
your work schedule is, and you might have soccer afterwards or whatever, paddle, after finishing work at 6, 7 o'clock at night, you are still just as present and just as caring. And
Oh, appreciate that, man. Exactly the same from me, bro, honestly. But we've always had that connection, as you said at the beginning, with like us opening the batting at school. We've always had that connection. I remember you being like, we'd have a tough game and we'd always open the batting. I just remember you coming up to me before we go in and you're like, Rich, please just face the first ball, bro. Please just face it. I'm like, yeah, sure, sweet, I'll take it. And there's like some guy from North Heerville bowling like 130 bounces at my head. But you see, like we had that connection from day one, and I think we've always had the same values. We've always been quite soft, both of us, but like not in a bad way. Like we're quite in touch with our emotions, and we can get vulnerable. Like that's kind of where I think we're very aligned, which is, yeah, I love it, bro.
yeah, and I mean, vulnerability obviously comes with positives and negatives. What do you think? Because I mean, I think from our relationship, you used to be quite closed off, even though you had that soft side. And suddenly, in the last few years, you've opened up a lot more, and shown a lot more of who you are. What do you think made that change?
I think it's just genuinely, it comes with experiences that you go through. I think in school, like I hadn't had a girlfriend. Yeah, I mean Ash was my first one, and that was out of school. So I hadn't had any of those kind of experiences. Now I've gone through relationships and stuff, and I've got to a point where I'm really settled and really happy. So I think it comes with being comfortable, and drawing on those experiences and being able to use like everything I've learned from those relationships and from like friendships and stuff. And also, you get to a point in your life where you're like, why hide it? Like we're so old now. We're 25. You know, why? There's no time for games. There's no time to hide. Like, just be present and be open. And I think when you are present and open with people, they also genuinely feel happy to be present and open with you. And it just invites like positive dialogue, and people can learn from each other through all the learnings that they've had through experiences. So I'd say it's definitely experience based and just maturity and growing up, basically.
I think it's not easy even to talk on a platform like this. You know, it's hard to find people that are open enough to be vulnerable and share parts of themselves that other people didn't even know existed. And yeah, I think in that you're definitely taking a risk, you know. People are always going to see you differently. Some people you might have 50% that are your number one fans, and another 50%
That's always going
can't
to happen,
stand
though.
you.
That's always going to happen, though, you know.
And I think in order to do that, you have to take a risk. And I think, I mean, you moving to Canada next year, which is definitely a big step.
Yep.
I know, because you're a West Ham fan and you feel it in your absolute blood. I mean, I've been to your house where you got it's so cute, where you got the whole family there and the scarves, and you all wear your West Ham shirts, and you know, you're in it together. I love how your family dynamic is and how you guys just live for West Ham in particular. What's it going to be like going to Canada? And I mean, I think it's 3 months. I know you wanted to go to London, obviously closer to West Ham. What are your expectations of Canada?
Yeah, it's a great question because, as you said, I always had this kind of vision that when I finished my articles, I'd be going to London, even if it was just for 3 months to do secondment. And it got to a point where all the spots were getting given out, and I hadn't really heard anything yet. And everyone that was going to London had heard that they were going to London, so I kind of in my head knew I wasn't going. But at the same time, I was like, okay, I'll literally I'll take anything. I was at a point where I was like, 3 months in a foreign country. I mean, but like I'd bite anyone's hand off for that, for the experiences and just to see something different. And then one morning I'm working at my desk and I get an email like, yeah, you've been placed in Toronto. Like you have to accept by tomorrow, 8 a.m. And I literally accepted immediately because I would never ordinarily go to Canada. Like it's never a place that you just, I don't know anyone that's been like, yeah, I just went to Canada. Yeah. It's a very random place, but I think there's so much potential. I mean, Toronto, I have no idea what to expect. I know it's going to be absolutely freezing cold. I'm going to freeze my ass off. It's going to be like minus 10 degrees every day. And apparently it's a massive culture shock because, as you know, South Africans are so friendly and everyone's kind of laid back and open here. And I think it might be very different going there. But genuinely, I am very excited and thinking really positively about it. Yeah, I mean, I'm keen to go check out like Toronto Football Club. They play in the MLS, so that would be cool. Maybe to go watch some ice hockey. Just do stuff that is completely different to what I would have here. So I'm really excited for it. Obviously, there's nerves and anxiety that comes with it, but because it's only 3 months, I honestly feel like it will go like this, and I'll be back, and it'll be can draw on those experiences.
Yeah, well, you better come back.
I'm definitely. I have my flight booked. I'm coming back 8th of April. I'm back. So,
but I think that's the thing. You are so good at changing that mentality. I mean, I know you live London. Whenever you go to London, it's
my favorite place in the world.
The best holiday you ever go on. I mean, you had your BBM status back in the day. I think it
Disturbing
was
London,
Disturbing
got the
London.
whole city panicking.
Tiny temper. You love London, but even though that was your dream, like you said, you got that Toronto offer and you took it straight away.
Mm-hmm.
And within 24 hours, your whole mindset had changed, and you were looking for the positives of going to Canada instead of London.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think that mentality comes from?
Honestly, it's so difficult. I don't think anyone in my family thinks the same way as I do. Everyone's very different. But I just think you get to a point where you just have to accept that genuinely, I know it's very cliche, but I think things do happen for a reason. I think I could have gone to London in January and hated it and worked shitty hours and been like burnt out and had shitty clients. And who knows, Canada could be amazing. I could absolutely love it. And like, obviously I'm going to come back, but I could have the best time and not want to leave. So it's just making the most of it. And I think because it was so different and out there, like I genuinely did not expect to go there. I think when they did the placements, Canada wasn't even an option on the list. Like no one could go there. So when I got it, it was just so different and something so fresh that I was a bit bummed to not go to London, but at the same time I can literally go to London whenever I want. You know, it's 3 months. I work in Canada, can come back. I might even go to London next year to travel and just go watch some footy or whatever. So it's just making the most of it and accepting that, at the end of the day, I think things do happen for a reason. You just got to make the most of it and enjoy the life, you know?
I love that.
That's the thing, yeah.
And what would you say the best advice you've ever received? First of all, who was it? And what was the advice?
Jeepers. That is a tough one. It was probably, I'm just going to go with the first thing that came to my head. It's probably from my dad, because he was a professional footballer throughout in the 80s, and he played for Wits and like the PSL and stuff. And from when I was super small, his instruction to me, no matter how big the game was, or no matter like what level I got to, whether like I got to academy football or whatever, it was always just make sure you do the basics well. Like make sure your first touch is good. You don't have, obviously there's so many other layers that come with playing football and stuff like that, but for me, he would always say, just make sure that you do the basics well and make sure your first touch is good. So you can worry about all the flary stuff and the crossing and the step overs and whatever, but he was just, for him, it was just, if you have the basics and the fundamentals right, you go from there. And I've always had that in my head. Like no matter if I was playing my first game in like under 5, under 6, or whether I was playing in like the Engine Cup against Orlando Pirates, it was always just make sure your first touch is good. And that always kind of stuck with me.
I feel like you reflect that in your everyday life as well. Because I think that's a lesson that you can potentially take into a life situation, to all situations, because you've got those players that in any sport that have the flair, they've got the fans, you got like your David Beckhams, for example, and your Ronaldos and your Messi. But in order to become a professional footballer, a successful person in business, or whatever success means to you, in order to become successful, you have to be good at the basics. You don't start with the flair and the skill moves and the punnas and all of that. You got to start somewhere, and I think it's important to build a base in no matter what you do, and starting with the basics is the first place to start.
100%, without a doubt. Yeah, spot on.
I think from a sporting side, obviously we've spoken a little bit about West Ham and how much you love it. You did mention that in 2016, I think it was, you joined the channel Irons United at the time.
Yes.
And that was a West Ham YouTube channel. What inspired you to get that going, and where's it at now?
It's actually a funny story. So it was 2016, and I just got this random message on Facebook from a guy who actually stays in Scotland and who I'm actually really good friends with now. And he just kind of messaged me. I don't know how he got in touch with me, or probably just by chance saw that I was a West Ham fan from South Africa. And he was like, yeah, I'm starting a channel. Are you interested in maybe like contributing a little bit, and we can just see where it goes? And that was 2016. And the name was Irons United at the time. And then fast forward a couple of years, we were quite prevalent on Facebook and on YouTube. We went through a number of logo changes, and then we changed the name to West Ham Network. And actually, funnily enough, through the page, I was going on holiday to Germany to see my cousins for 3 weeks with my family. And somehow through like the fan zone work I've done with Premier League productions and stuff, I managed to get a gig to go into the studio and do an episode there and watch the game on the weekend. And then I met up with Ant, and he joined me, and we had the best day ever in London. And now fast forward a couple of years, we like 22,000 subscribers on YouTube. They've done amazing with the page. Like in the last couple of years have, because of work and just life, I haven't contributed as much as I would have liked to, but I still, do the previews once a week, and I'm still on Premier League TV quite a bit, which is great. I love that. So yeah, it started by chance in 2016, and it's just like grown exponentially now to where it is now. But it genuinely is all the credit to him, because he drove that like massively. They've done a great job, genuinely.
And I mean, you posting quite often on that channel as well. Obviously, you have to be passionate about it to keep it going for the last 7 years. What inspired you to support West Ham?
So, I mean, that was just passed down from my dad, and the story of how he became a West Ham fan. So my dad was actually born in Zambia, and he grew up in Zimbabwe. and he had brothers who supported Arsenal and like the general big clubs. And my dad grew a love for West Ham because the last time England won the World Cup, which was 1966, the captain of England was Bobby Moore, who played for West Ham. So my dad was like, oh, okay, cool. Like England won a World Cup. He's the captain. He plays for West Ham. Like, cool. And then they all sent fan mail to their clubs, like hoping to get a response. I don't know. This must have been years ago. And no one got anything back except my dad. And he got like a like signed letter, like thanks for the support, all the way from England to Zimbabwe. And he was like, okay, cool, I'm sold. And then he was a West Ham fan his whole life. And then it just got passed down to me. Like, I can show you a photo when you come to me later. It's literally me and my cot, like newborn baby, like just breathing. And there's like a West Ham scarf over me. So it's kind of just like thrown upon me. But I mean, I wouldn't change it for the world. I mean, as you know, we got our first trophy last year, which was like huge. I mean, I didn't think I'd ever see West Ham win a trophy. Like we've got close, we've got to FA Cup finals and stuff, but to see us win a trophy was just nuts. I've seen us get relegated more than I've seen us win trophies. So yeah, it's just that roller coaster of emotion that keeps me going. Like I just love that, you know. I love that. It's proper working class football club, proper fans. It's not about the success. It's not about winning, because that doesn't happen. But when you do win and when there is success, it means so much more because you've seen the bad stuff. So yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world.
And I think because, I mean, I'm an Everton supporter, also
The Toffees.
not a club that's known to get too many trophies, but I think there's something beautiful in that. And I think for me, it's definitely taught me a few life lessons. Funnily enough, just by seeing how, you know, you're not going to win the league every season. Just like each day is not going to be a successful day. You're going to have high times, you're going to have low times. You're going to battle relegation. But I think there's definitely beauty in supporting a small club, and you almost can't explain it to people, you know, your Man City, your Man United fans. They'll never get it.
They don't get us, man. They just don't.
And what I like is that even just with us, if West Ham win a game, even if it's a smaller game, often I'll watch that game because I know how behind your team you actually are. Yeah. And I'll send you a message afterwards. And likewise, I mean, we know most of the players on each other's team just because I think we enjoy being underdogs.
Just learning from each other. Yeah. I mean, for sure, we definitely love messaging each other when we see a good result come through. But there was one message that you gave me this season that pissed me off a little bit. So basically, Everton beat West Ham this season, which is still it just haunts me to this day. And I knew after that game, I was just waiting for you to pop into my flipping WhatsApp, bro. And there's like Mike with a wink, like, thanks for coming or something. So yeah, but I mean, that's what I love, because West Ham and Everton are very similar in terms of we haven't had that success. And so we can kind of take the piss out of each other because, you know, that's just how the football clubs are. Like, we don't win a lot. But we enjoy it and we love it. And that's, again, another dynamic to me and you that we're very similar. We both support clubs that don't always win. But when there's success, then it's extra special, you know?
And I think it's quite clear to see how passionate you are about sport, not even just West Ham and football, but I mean, just sport in general. What does sport do to you? I mean, why is it that you are so passionate? Even, I mean, you watch the rugby, you watch the cricket, whatever you watch, I relate because I feel the same. It does something in me that, it's like a story, and it's your interpretation of that story. How does sport impact your life?
Oh, it's everything. It literally is my life. I think sport was my first love, genuinely. I think for me, there's like a mystery to every single sporting encounter, whether it be any discipline, whether it be football, cricket, rugby. there's always going to be an underdog, and there's always the chance that at any given moment something insanely crazy could happen, or someone could do something insane. Or on any given day, a team that's 20th in the Premier League might beat a team first in the Premier League at like odds of 20-1, and no one expected it. And it's just, yeah, it's the mystery and there's almost a poetry to it. You know, you listen to like Peter Drury commentate, and the way he narrates the game is like
Unbelievable.
it's insane. So for me, it's just, yeah, there's just an excitement because you never know what's going to happen on any given day and at any given time. And yeah, I don't know where I'd be without sport. Generally, it's like my love. It was my first love, without a doubt. So
Sheesh. I'm
yeah.
sure Kristen loves to hear that.
Yeah.
And you mentioned underdog. Do you think it's more advantageous to be the one who's expected to win, or to be the underdog, where you almost have no expectations coming into something in sport and in life?
It's difficult because generally the underdogs are always under pressure and probably not doing well, whether that be in life or in sport. But I think there's something exciting about being an underdog in that, you know, you can go out and give your all, and there's nothing to lose. That's it. Like, there's nothing to lose. You know, you can give your absolute all. You probably expected to lose anyway. So why not just throw the kitchen sink at the game, or like into a new project that you're doing, or into like a business that you want to start up? If you've got nothing to lose, I think it takes the pressure off you a little bit. You like, I am the underdog. I'm expected to lose. Everyone expects me to lose. So screw them. Like, let me go all in. So I think the underdog tag is actually quite a good thing. In life, like whether it's in sport or in business or anything like that.
I think so one of the podcasts that I really enjoy is Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett.
Mm-hmm.
And he's often speaking to, you know, very successful business owners and people who have like come a long way in their life and are very successful in many different facets of life. And a lot of them speak about how it was better when they were at the bottom of the hill, because they always had something to look up to, and it was almost like they were measuring their growth. But as soon as they got to the peak, then they had all that pressure of falling all the way.
Yeah, to stay
back
at
down.
the top is the tough part. That's the difficult part. I think, as you said, when you're at the bottom and you're looking up and you're looking forward, you can always improve, you can always get better. But when you're at the top, to stay there, that's the hardest part. And also when you're at the top, people want to knock you off the top.
And having said that, do you believe there is a top?
I think it's good to believe there isn't a top, because once you have a ceiling, I think you limit yourself. So the sky's the limit, I think, is the way to go. But obviously everyone has their demands and stuff, but I think it's good to almost have no ceiling, basically.
Yeah. I think what people don't know about you, your family, I'll always give praise to your family, because your family is beautiful. It truly is.
I love yours too, Bak.
Thank you. And every time I go there, I feel so welcome. The energy is just so warm. And I think that shows a lot in who you are. I really think that you are a generally good person and a kind-hearted person.
Thank you, bro.
And your family is also just incredible at sport. Like, it's actually a joke. I don't know your mom's story, but your dad, professional footballer.
Yep.
Then your brother Mike.
That man's too talented.
Now he could be a professional golfer if he wanted to. He hits the ball 60 meters past me easily, and I've been playing for a long time. cricket, he was quite a leader from what I heard, and he played, I think it was under 21s for
Under 19.
Under 19.
Under 19, yeah.
And he was roommates with Quinny de Kock.
Quinny de Kock, yeah.
I mean, your sister as well.
Machine on the netball court.
Unbelievable. Soccer.
Yeah.
Every week it was like when we had assembly, it was Richard scored 100 and Richard Faasen got 4 goals and they won 4-0. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. But in that, so the sports that I remember you playing were cricket, rugby, and soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And you're quite brilliant at all of them, to be fair.
You make me blush.
But the coaches all saw something in you that I don't even know if you saw it in yourself, but your energy it showed captaincy through and through. There wasn't a doubt in any of those coaches' minds to make you captain. And you were captain of the cricket team,
mm-hmm.
the rugby team, and the soccer team. And I saw, whenever I watched you, you were so proud just to put that captain's armband on. And it's almost like you looked after the people around you as if they were your family. And what leadership traits do you think those coaches saw in you?
Yeah, I honestly really I love captaining teams. I just, you try and set an example for people to follow. You try and encourage your teammates. I think they saw probably just quite a level head. In school I used to get quite hot-headed, and I used to love a tackle, and I used to love a scrap every now and then. But I think they just saw, especially in training, like a calm, level head, someone that they knew had the ability and could play and was good and stuff. But also, I'd like to think I was quite encouraging of my teammates and saw like potential in them too, and how they could work really well in the team, and wanting to see my teammates grow. You know, there would be like, if you think about Crawford sport, generally not the greatest sport, as you know. It's not an all boys school. Like, I mean, we did do well in like football and stuff where we competed with the big boys, but you'd see people coming in grade 8 that had never held a cricket bat, or that had never like tackled someone in rugby, and then you see them grow and like have such a burning love for the sport. And I think I had that encouraging attitude to like uplift them and want to see them do well. So I think it was probably just like the level head and the ability to get down to a level where you can encourage and build up your teammates. So I'd like to think that's how I carried myself. And that's probably what they saw in me. But I've always loved being a leader. That's always been something I've enjoyed. But at the same time, trying to just keep your head down and not get carried away and not be the limelight, not be the center of attention. And rather, how can I work together with everyone else to achieve a common goal, or to win that game, or to get into that tournament? So, yeah.
And what I quite like about that is, from being on the same cricket team, for example, as you've almost got that quiet confidence. You're not the loudest person on the field, but you still manage to inspire a little bit of everyone's heart on that field. And what did you do to actually motivate those players to get behind you and the strategy that you had and the mentality that you had?
I think it's about investing in someone. When you make it about yourself, you very quickly lose people. And I think when people in my teams could see that I was taking an interest in them, and I was focusing on them, and I wanted to see them improve, it immediately ignites something within them, and they go straight away, okay, it's not about him, it's not about what he can do, it's about what I can do. So I think it's having that connection with your teammates and going down, because I mean, there were people that I would chat to that genuinely, like factually, weren't on the same level as me. That's just how it was. They weren't as good as I was, but for me to just get down to the level and be like, bro, you've got so much potential, you can do this. And as soon as they can see that someone's actively investing in them, I think it's bound to drive something within them, and they would want to improve and want to get better. And I think they saw that I could get down to their level and have just a genuine conversation with them and want them to do well. And when they saw that, I think that ignited something in them and made them want to do better and achieve something.
And I think within that, I mean, you were a brilliant sportsman yourself. I remember, like I say, your whole family was exceptional, still are, in many ways. But I still remember the one year where you got Sportsman of the Year and Kaylee got Sportswoman of the Year, same year. It was just, sport was the fastest. But I think, like you say, it's about almost creating synergy and having a bit of selflessness. And I've never known you to be a selfish person. And I think what I really want to know is, what are the benefits of being selfless as opposed to being so trapped in that narrow-minded thinking, which we all get into sometimes. I mean, everyone's guilty of it. At the end of the day, you got to look after yourself. How do you balance looking after yourself with having that side of care and selflessness towards others?
That's something that I think everyone can work on and is actively working on to try and achieve. For me, as much as I am very out there on social media and very much out there when it comes to like doing stuff on TV and stuff, I genuinely am someone that doesn't like compliments. Like, I don't like the limelight on me. You know me as like someone will be trying to hype me up, and I'd very quickly downplay it, like, no, like, thank you. But yeah, that's just how I am. I've never been one to want the limelight on me and want to be the center of attention. As you said, like earlier, I kind of just had that quiet confidence where I knew I had the ability, and I knew I could trust myself. I didn't need to be shouting or mouthing off to everyone that I was this good or I could do that, because I had the belief internally I could keep quiet and do my talking on the pitch or by how I treat someone. But it's a very difficult line to balance, to have the selflessness and not to become too self-absorbed. And I think I need to work on it. Everyone needs to kind of work on it to find that balance. But it's a good question. I must actually think about that on the way home
and
answer it a bit better.
And if there's a balance, surely then there are times to be selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And when do you think you found for you that it's been a good time for you to block out the noise and just focus on you?
There's probably a couple. I'd say probably my honors year at varsity, where to get through accounting sciences, especially in honors, is brutal. So I had to say no, and I had to be selfish to focus on studies. And then more recently, being selfish with my time. Obviously, from when I met Chris up until now, I have been very selfish with my time, and I've wanted to spend a lot of my time with her rather than do all the other things I used to do when I wasn't in a relationship. So I think, those are probably two of the times when I had to be selfish. But I surprisingly, I found it really easy to be selfish, as I said, like right at the beginning of this podcast, because I was so settled and so happy. Like it was a no-brainer for me to be selfish. And I think everyone needs to be selfish sometimes. So,
I mean, I think for me, I find that obviously there's levels to it, but I know when I'm doing things for other people too much, and it's almost like that people pleasing, that yes man thing that you were speaking about. And in those moments for me, I need to go back into, like, as an introverted person, naturally, I need to go back inside and figure out how I'm going to work things out. Because if I'm just listening to the noise around me and being selfless in a way, I don't give the best of me. And I think for me this year, what's been a big help is definitely meditations. So that's something that I've
Would you recommend that?
I would.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so simple, but even taking 10 or 15 minutes in a day to just focus on the present moment and how you feeling has such a big impact on how your day goes
For
and your interactions with others. So I think it's definitely tough to deal with that balance of being selfish and being selfless. But honestly, I think you are one of the most selfless people, and I know you don't like compliments, but
I appreciate that a lot, Mike.
no, you
Genuine.
you really show that. And yeah, I think I wanted to know who were you in school? Like, what's the difference between 15-year-old Richard, who's captain of all the teams and still navigating a lot of life and, being that yes man, to who you are now? Can you just explain that difference for you?
Yeah, I think from primary school all the way through to high school, I think I was very driven, and I think I took things very seriously all the time. And it was a good thing. I mean, it meant I did well academically. I was good on the football field, on the sports pitch. But one thing that I've definitely, in like the last couple of years, is I've just learned not to be so serious all the time. Like there's a time and place to be serious, but then there's also a time and place to just relax and like let your hair down, have a good time. And yeah, my time in school, I was very like tick the boxes, do what you need to do, uh, get to varsity. Like there was always a plan ahead of me, but I think I did take things too seriously. And now at 25, I have a much changed mindset about when to take things seriously and when not to take things seriously. It's just having that balance. So I think that's the main difference for me. I could have been way naughty at school if I wanted to. I was a good boy. I was a good boy.
Yeah, no, I think we were quite similar in school.
Definitely.
In a lot of ways, and that's why we became friends from a young age. I think I was also like that. I mean, I never had a teacher that hated me.
Same.
But I didn't feel like I lived those younger years to the extent that I should have. Not to say that I have regrets, but looking back, in hindsight, I do think navigating that balance I'm finding it a little bit easier now. But back then,
Yeah.
I was also very, very serious. Like a maths exam was like everything.
Make or break, bro. Yeah.
And it would, if we had a cricket match and we lost, it would affect me for the whole week. And
Yeah.
I think growing up, like as you mature and become more of an adult, you start to lose that playful side. It's so easy to do. And I think what's quite important is still to look for that playful side
100%.
in normal situations, because once you get a job, once you've got that degree and you start putting all this pressure onto your shoulders, whether it's internally or externally. So we've spoken quite a lot about your family. I mean, I've never said a bad thing about them, and I never will. But what do you think the role of family is in your life?
Huge. I'm very lucky and I'm very blessed that I have parents that have been together for, I think it's 39 years now. They just had their 39-year anniversary. So I'm very blessed because I obviously have a lot of friends whose parents have split, or then there's been a lot of trauma that's come with that. So I think I've had a really stable base, which has helped me immensely. very supportive parents in different ways. My dad, like on the football field or through our love for music. My mom has just been so caring, like all the time, amazing. And then my brother and sister, we have also very different relationships. I obviously have a twin sister who we are very close. And then you have my relationship with my brother, which is also very different. So yeah, family huge, and they've been so supportive, and it's kind of shaped me into who I am today. So yeah, the value of family just can never go underestimated. And it's the same with yours. Like I love your family. I'm sure they've been amazing for you, or very different to mine in very like a lot of different ways. But I think the overall like love and stuff that you need, I think we both got that in different ways.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I think having a support system is so important. Um, I mean, I know a lot of friends of mine that don't have healthy family relationships, and going home actually feels a bit like a war zone.
Yeah.
And I think we've both been very fortunate that majority of the time when you come home, you actually feel like you can be yourself, let your hair down. And I think with you, I've seen what I really appreciate is that you're just as authentic around your family as you are with everyone around you. And I mean, that's
bro.
amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It really is. I mean, what do you think the importance is of having that constant support system to go home to in life is?
Massive, because as you know, you not every day is going to be rainbows and butterflies. There are going to be times when you have shit days. There's going to be times when you genuinely are not enjoying your job, or you're annoyed with something, or you're angry for some reason. And I think having that support structure for me, like coming home after bad days, you just know that you can kind of switch off from the outside world and, as you said, just be yourself. And yeah, my family are very like soft and caring. There's a lot wrong with our family, don't get me wrong. Like we are not the perfect family, far from it. But I think it's just having that care to come home to, and well, I can come home and banter with my dad, or he'll put his LP on and we'll bang some music and have a good time, or I have a chat with my mom while she's cooking. It's just that like soft, sentimental value that you get to know that no matter how shit a day can be, you can come home, you can unwind, and then you can hit it hard tomorrow and go again.
And outside of family, who do you reach out to when you're going through tough times?
Well, people like you, because I know you understand and we're on the same wavelength. My girlfriend, obviously, my brother, my sister, we have a very good relationship. So yeah, externally it would be friends, it would be your loved ones. But yeah, I think I've got it nailed down into who I can be open with and who I can't. And I'm pretty flippin' chuffed with who I can be open with, because we're on the same page. And yeah, I'm just very lucky, bro, to have the family and friend group that I have around me.
And in closing,
Yes, sir.
if you could meet one person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
My word. This is a tough one. I'm trying not to go on the sport train here.
It's where your heart
trying not-
actually goes.
I'd probably say Pele. It's a standard like football answer, but I just think, or someone like Ronaldinho, actually. Ronaldinho. I'm going to go Ronaldinho, because he was just, at the time, he was like the maverick of football, and he was the man, the most flair character, but he had that flair on the pitch and he had it off the pitch. He knew how to party, he knew how to have a good time. I'm sure that man must have the craziest stories to tell. So I think, yeah, for me it would be Ronaldinho, because that man was just like a dynamo on the field. He was just so cool, and off the pitch as well. Knew how to have a good time, still does. So yeah, it would probably be him.
Richard, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
I thoroughly enjoyed this. And yeah, I mean, we've spoken many times about possibly being each other's best men one day. And honestly, that is how deeply I feel towards you. And I want to thank you for your presence and your energy and your willingness to do this. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, bro. I really enjoyed that. So yeah, thank you, bro.